what I encountered as a spiritual twin flame teacher, bringing people in the state of consciousness, the state of being of harmonious twin flame union. Now, I, Petra, was a professional in the creative industry before, and I was also an author, and I got famous for my poetry. But I realized more and more that creativity, at the depth of it, is your possibility to open yourself for your soul, where things become spacious, and the true creativity of creation itself starts to be presented to you and can be extended through you to the world. And I started to realize that my writing of poems, my poetry, was actually the magic of trying to express something that would have a result in reality that is magic in its most magic sense, right? And that it was actually about trying to conjure this world in which what I felt deep in my heart was becoming true through processes. That's what it was always about in the stories, but also in the act itself, because of the expression in symbols, words, letters, that would be manifesting something that I had felt inside. So on both these levels, my poetry was actually magic. And I realized more and more that I was only here all the time as a spiritual teacher. Also because what I tried to convey was not widely understood. People didn't necessarily understand what I meant with the arts, cultural things like visual arts, theater, literature as well, dancing, music, and then having that as an invitation to connect with your creativity, which would then open you to the deeper soul level of you, which would then open you up to the possibility of creation itself moving through you to the world, in which, yes, we can sometimes indeed, again, in that movement, make meaningful symbols that express something that we want to express in the world. See, and that movement, and people didn't understand it. And through my poetry and reading it to people, people were completely mesmerized and they loved it, and it was beautiful, and it gave them a feeling of almost becoming in a sort of a trance. But it did not truly transform them, because I was not guiding them to what I actually meant with that, so that they could find it in themselves and then moving to that place that I meant with it, that was expressed in the story layer of my poetry, which was about finding that deeper reality in which you encounter the true twin flame, and starting to build that possibility in life from your feelings as raw material that you need to study and be interested in and feel, as a raw material with which you do that, which later became the raw material that you put into the key tool, right? The 4 steps of key that form the current version of what I call the twin flame inner work tool that truly works. So this was also not really understood, and I realized that I did not bring people where I meant it to be, and for the most part because they were not exactly understanding it right, because they were also not coming for the right reason, because I did not present myself as of yet as a spiritual teacher, although I was all the time and I did nothing else. So eventually I realized that I needed to be a spiritual teacher and just say that. Well, that was, busting through a whole bunch of resistance that I had about that, because I think I didn't want to go there or something. I just loved the idea so much that you could bring this deeper truth in normal life, in society. That's what I loved, right? Just like art is taking place in society, right? Although very many people would also say that that is sort of placed outside of society in a way, right? But that was my reference field of action, you know. I wanted that, but it didn't work out. So I started to see that I needed to call myself a spiritual teacher, and it took me a very, very long time before I really took that on. And then on top of that, I learned this whole new level of being a spiritual teacher, and it was not only learning like, oh, I get it, or I know it, or I heard something, but what I mean is that I got this whole new layer of where spirituality is at this moment in the universe, the leading edge of what that is in the universe, right? And that is that we are in a space and time right now in which we can be with our true twin flames relatively early in the journey, the life journey, which is also the spiritual journey, and then be with them in a harmonious way moving forward together, fulfilling the whole journey, or the rest of the journey, if you will. Through which then also, because of the enormous power of these two expressions of the same soul blueprint, that's what you are, what everyone is on the deeper soul level, where your spirit meets your source, you just unlock everything that the universe truly wants to give you there. So you also start to unfold with the true twin flame there at the rest of that journey together, the real abundance of your existence, of your soul, of your eternal existence. And that consists of everything that you long for, right? That fits exactly what you want to manifest in the world and what you want to bring other people to, and the experiences that you want to bring other people into as well. You know, it also consists of what you want to share, your mission, and what people desire from you. And they feel that, and they come to you, and then they can get it there, right? And they feel grateful, and they will give back as well, etc. Through which the whole movement of your soul money is being established as well, because that all is part of what is unlocked there. Your soul money too, your abundance is present there in all manifestations. And money belongs there too, although many people might think that it's like a non-spiritual topic, but it's actually the opposite of that. It's just energy, but it's a way of dealing with energy that we in the world have as a quite, not entirely, but quite universal means to organize that energetic exchange, right? So an expression of value, so that belongs there too. And I realized, which was also a relatively long time that this was going on in my life, that this was going to become something that was really going to be made come true in my life, in myself, and I was going to be initiated as a teacher of it, which happened to then sort of be coming onto what I already had as being a spiritual teacher. And that's what happened. That also took me a decade, I would say. Although, you know, all these things were already present all the time. And also I even remember at this point past lives in which that was already present, etc. But I did bring it to a new height in this lifetime, which is uniquely now and here, and where we meet. So hi, right? That's beautiful. We meet here. And yeah, once that had happened, I went to Harmonious Twin Flame Union, the consciousness state. And I got initiated as a teacher to pass it on as well to to share it, you know. And I got more and more clear that I really needed to share it. And that was the whole point, etc. Because also there I started shy. I'm a shy person, I guess. And that's where the teachership that I share now, you could say, sort of finds its origin. And we're talking now the last 4 or 5 years that this really came into being, from that place to where I'm now, and where we meet now in this video, right? And I got a whole bunch of experiences with bringing people to Harmonious Union, and I want to talk about some of them so that you get a little bit of a grasp of what happens and what can happen, and also what can go wrong, etc. So since that time, I've brought together, besides my own, 1, 2, 3 Harmonious Twin Flame Unions. And there were also a couple of people, and couples sometimes as well, that came to me that I brought along that way a whole bit, you know, very far. But then they sort of deviated from it and went their own way. And I could not bring them entirely to Harmonious Twin Flame Union because, you know, that's something we do together. So that's the first thing, I guess, that is important to know. We do this together. It's an endeavor that you do with your teacher. And to think otherwise is free. But how's that going for you? You know, I did it with a teacher. Everything that I talked about in my little bit of a professional history, I did with a teacher. I did with teachers. That is usually how that goes. I would see that as very normal. And that is not even only for the twin flame part of my teachership. I mean, that was already very normal for me since 24 years, because my first spiritual teacher I met when I was 20 in the year 2000. I think. Yeah, I think so. Or not yet 20, almost 20. And I just was there with this whole growth of his Sangha and his school and stuff into something more tangible. And I already had seen everything, how it works to relate to a teacher and what does not work and stuff, and looking around at other people and whatnot. And since that time, I, by the way, have also always known about spiritual communities and teachers, mostly heard through the internet, that did not work and that were really also fake or cults. Or so I heard always about these teachers with whom it did not work out, and they were not teachers, you know, and they built this spiritual community and that did not function, etc. And I always was very grateful that I could sort of compare that to where I was, and yeah, what I was doing was always, seemed always like stably, like stable, the right thing, the stable thing. And it became easy to find out what were these, yeah, you can just feel into these things that people do that are not right. And that just was clarified to me from that time on. And also because, I don't know, I have this tendency to also want to research that a little bit here and there. I think that was always interesting to me. I have an intellectual hunger as well, and that is one of the aspects that I think fed into that. So that was interesting to me. But that all actually as a side note, but I think it just means that I have seen a whole lot of things about spirituality and schools and teachers, and about what doesn't work, etc. And I could always compare that to that I had a true teacher. My first teacher was a true teacher. So yeah, I guess that sort of plays into everything. But what I was talking about was that I started to see that now I was coming to this new level of getting into Harmonious Twin Flame Union and then sharing that. And that's really a leading edge thing that almost nobody does that yet. And I started to realize that I needed to share this. And I started to see that everything that I saw before in the not twin flame attuned spirituality and teachers, because they were not there yet, or not there yet in the sense that now you can be with your true twin flame in an earlier stage together harmoniously and then do the rest of the journey together, because the twin flame was always there, because it's just an organic part of the architecture of any organic spiritual journey. But then it would have been come up for you at the end of the journey. That's what would have traditionally happened anyway. So, but what happened was that I started to grow into this person that could bring other people in harmonious union too, because having the true teachership, which I realized that I had gotten, means that you just exude it and other people absorb it from you. And it's like an energy and they absorb it from you, or the light comes out of me and they absorb it in them and they find what is light in them, and that also gets flamed up, enlightened. How do you say? Ignited. Maybe that's the word, right? Ignited. And that's sort of an aspect of how it works. There are more aspects to how it works. And one of them is that it's a relationship too, because you need the guidance to really also in your psychology being guided through the changes that brings to you. And another aspect you could say is the intellectual aspect of understanding some ground rules and the ideas that are corresponding with the actual twin flame happening in how it happens in people's lives, instead of the mythologies about it. Yeah, these are some aspects. And I started to see that this all started to come out of me and started to work. But there was a whole avenue that I was walking to make that really come true. And it was a whole journey after my own Harmonious Twin Flame Union, in which there was a deep healing that happened to me. And at the same time, this new stadium, this new phase of my teachership started to also slowly happen and emerge out of me. Very interesting experiences, all of them. But it was some kind of hard to bring people with me there, because there were deep emotional works that I was doing there to prepare the road for myself moving forward, and for the new teachership in myself that was birthing forward, and for other people to come in there and anchor in it and together with me move forward. But after 3 years, I did bring someone in that state of consciousness, and that was Brittany. And she had been around me at that moment for 5 years, I would say, in total. And that was beautiful, and we could acknowledge that together, that she went there now for real. But I do remember that while bringing her there, we were sort of thinking that she was there 2 years earlier. And that was very interesting too, because we now could see that bringing her to this harmonious union place we thought earlier was actually not so, because it was still something that was mostly on the surface, although through it she had reached and touched something, but it was actually not really there, but it was there. and it was the direction was right, and like the pointing, the reaching was right, but was not there yet. And then 2 years later, when she actually reached it, we could see like, oh, that's so interesting, because now I can see what was going on there, and now we can bring people deeper clearly, and this is the true point that we're looking for in other people as well, besides me having reached it for myself. But that needed clarification for me to be able to see what that would be in other people. Very interesting. So I really learned a lot there, and how I would need to guide that for other people, right? So, but that was beautiful because it was just such an example, and she went through this deeper layer and then arrived, and then it was just, I didn't even need to be there. There was just this experience of the light coming in for her, and I was there with her, and I was not at that moment with her on a Zoom call or whatnot, although she lived on the other side of the world, which we always did, of course, these Zoom calls and whatnot. And that time she was also working for me and with me, besides having been my student for 5 years and my friend as well. So at that point, I had like 5 years of experience with her, and that had taught me a lot about how things would go. And I thought indeed that like a couple of years would not be such a strange idea. Now, after that, also other experiences came into my life. Not that I hadn't met people before that were on the twin flame journey, but that was years and years earlier, and we were just sort of trying to be friends and exchange some ideas that we had and whatnot. But now I was clearly on another part of the journey, having arrived and feeling the inner urge from the divine out to extend that. But I did meet also some people again that I had met before in the twin flame atmosphere online. And I also saw that 2 of them wanted to come closer, and I started to organize ways for them to sort of get into what I was offering. And both of them at a certain point got very clear information through a reading from me that could bring them suddenly in a big step deeper in love, because the twin flame work is going deeper in love, and that's when you get the results. You don't get the results from trying to organize it outside of yourself, because that's control and manipulation. So I offered them this opportunity, and they stepped into that, and they were not close, they were not far from each other in time, rather close to each other in time, when that sort of played out for them. And one of them got from Divine Mother via me that someone else was her true twin flame, most probably, and she would need to research that, and was someone else in her environment where she was working. But she didn't really think that that was something serious or something. You know, that's it. I think it came more to her as some sort of like, yeah, would you like an ice cream today? Would you like vanilla or chocolate? She would like, yeah, maybe I'll take chocolate. Who knows? But it's about your twin flame, you know, and it's information that comes from Divine Mother. So that's, you know, of course, information on a very different level that is also completely colliding with what you are truly looking for, because it is part of your soul's blueprint, and there's only one thing that is on that vibration for you. There is no other thing. It's not really a choice. It's just a presentation of what Divine Mother gave as a present at that moment. So that was, I think, a huge miscalculation of her. And that pretty much ended also our relationship, because there was no way to go there or something, you know. And what are you doing here then? I don't know what to do with this, you know. So she pretty much ended the relationship with that. She was standing for a door that didn't exist, you know. You can go deeper with me, but if you don't want to have the results, then I don't know, you know. It's like, and it was like one of the first times that happened in that significant way. Like, yeah, sometimes things happen that really don't work. Very interesting. And I started to process, like, oh, how can you look at this from multiple sides and this situation, and how can I deal with that as a teacher, etc. And yeah, that has made me grow a lot. And the other experience was that I experienced her coming closer to me, and at the same time someone else coming closer in our community as well. And then when she got the opportunity to go deeper with me, with something that Divine Mother through me was extending to her, and she went into that, then the answer was that she got now very clearly close to her true twin flame. And she was also in sort of a new headspace suddenly, where she understood that she needed to be open about who the true twin flame actually was, which was some sort of 180-degree turn. Do you say it like that? From how she was standing in it for much of the time beforehand, for years and years. And that came beautifully together, because really at that time it was Divine Mother that showed me that, you know, these two twin flames of this same union had been attracted to my community alongside each other at the same time. And that was what was happening for her, with her at that time in my community, with her union, and her twin flame was right there. And they were already for a couple of months asking me the same things, such as showing me interest in the A Course in Miracles book, which is the deeper teaching of the Christ that Masters in a form of one long reasoning and lessons in a book. And that was one of the examples. And they both wanted to deepen that out and come to one of my events about that. And that was also the time in which these events started, that we do still 4 times per month in our Facebook group, Your Abundance. There's the mini program, and you can always come there to get some basics about how to do the journey. And this is one event of those 4 that returns every month. And they were also both not actually doing it. They were not actually coming to the event, which was very interesting, because they both did exactly the same thing. And that's often what happens with true twin flames. They do sort of the same thing. They have both trouble going into something that triggers them a little bit or something. That's just an example. I'm not saying that they were triggered by it. Well, they probably were. I mean, that's what came out. But that's what twin flames do, you know. They work through the same blocks at the same time, but they can also gravitate to the same place in consciousness, and therefore also on the internet, or the same community, or the same teacher, or all of them, which happened for them at the same time, because your true twin flame and you do desire the same, and your development is parallel to each other until you really meet so close that you really can say, okay, now this is the unity, the union, the oneness, this is where we meet. This is in the middle of our bubble of light, and we need to say hi to each other. right? So that's how they were moving. And that was revealed to me in a revelation of Divine Mother herself, which is often what happens, especially when people come closer to Harmonious Union. Also with Brittany, the first time I passed it on, I clearly was seeing that when she was coming to her true Harmonious Union moment, and we were just going there, you know. When I look back, it was like weeks beforehand, and I just felt that, and Divine Mother gave me the visions that belonged to it and started to reach out to her through me with some extra help that I just give because I feel it needs to be given. Just like that, that's what Divine Mother makes me do for you. And that extra help just was completely fitting into the couple of weeks leading up to her harmonious union state of consciousness. And that happens all the time, and I get a vision and whatnot. That's also why I say we do it together. And that's happened for this other woman as well. And she was leading up to that, and I was getting the vision, and I had been reaching out for her to with tools and ways to go deeper, and you know, and a conversation, and a lot of compassion from my side, and reaching out, just also just really in the sense of how you're doing, right? And that's how it came out. And that was the first time that I saw that it was so interesting that two people could come into my community both, and then start to realize that they were actually opening up to the realization, I don't know who my true twin flame is, but I really want it. And that they would already be right there in front of them and in my community. This has happened afterwards as well. And it's actually very logic when you think about it. It's actually very normal when you think deeper about it. It's not for everyone. For some people, it is more that some also need to wake up to that they need to be open, okay. But then the true twin flame might be in their work or their physical environments and stuff. And that would be also kind of normal, right? It depends. That's individual. Any way that is fit for you, it will be presented in. And when you come in the consciousness close, you must be presented with it. And you will, I promise you. And it will be presented to you in a way that is fit for uniquely you. And that's why we see different kinds, right? For some people, it may be that they come in connection through the internet with someone else on the other side of the world. For some people, it will be that they come in connection with someone that they know already and that is in their physical life, in their vicinity. For some people, it might be what we said, that they come into connection with their true twin flame because they were both attracted to the teacher in their community. Can also be. It will be in a way that is fit for uniquely you, your union, and your union's development, and your union's purpose, your union's mission. And the way it will be actually in your true heart's desires way. But sometimes our ego personalities have another idea about it. About what would be the best idea and the best person, which you cannot choose in that sense, because it is already baked into your architecture of the soul who that is, and that doesn't change suddenly or something, you know. It's a given that you get as a revelation, and your teacher is with you through that revelatory process in all ways. So this was someone, she was someone that did not want that. Like her, so that's like part of her, her ego, personality went back to thinking that her old ideas about everything that was going on, that she had been having for years, were more likely the truth for her. And she went back to that thinking strategy. And Yeah, her twin flame also did not come forward, although I did invite him to come forward in a couple of ways, and later on also waited until he came forward. And then that moment eventually came as well. It took a long time through a little bit of another way online, and he was also very resistant. And to such a degree that I also had to actively say goodbye to him. So these things can happen too. At a certain moment, there is no real way for us to move forward sometimes. Although you can always come back and move forward with me when you do cooperate, then you would be very welcome. I'm not saying that just to make myself sound kind or something. That's just how that is. I do genuinely mean that. Sometimes that may be in another lifetime, maybe. That's sometimes what I'm thinking. Like maybe people come back in another lifetime to try it again, but their true twin flame will still be their true twin flame, but they might present themselves in another body, in another way to them that is fit for them now or then. But at the same time, your eternal development is in your soul, which is your eternal vehicle. And when you have lessons there, they won't suddenly be learned because it's another lifetime. So you actually always would need to go through that lesson. So my advice to you is learn that now. And that is also a big part of why we're building towards opening the full school. That's why I have coaching. That's why you can make appointments with me individually and I ask for a fee. That's why I have VIP sessions. That's why I do healing. I give readings. That is why, because these are the lessons that you can learn that are unique to your soul's development, and after which you can be forever in harmony with your true twin flame, which is your love of loves. And that does not stop at death. That continues. But you can also say, well, I do it in the next lifetime, but then you still need to learn the same lessons. So that's why these lessons are so important. That's why the community is so important. That's why the school element is so important. The coaching element is so important. And that's why there is a teacher, right? That's why. So that's how that works, and it's a beautiful opportunity to be able to take that route now and just learn these lessons, right? And that's what we can figure out together. More experiences. Well, I may not talk about all of them, but I think that I'm just touching upon a couple of points that I think are educational for you to know. I learned a lot about what does not work, and I learned also a lot about what does work. I was in the happy circumstance that I also got to see more diversity in twin flame land, so to speak, right? So what would that be in twin flame land? Well, that would, for instance, be for the very, 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 very most people, there are two expressions coming from your twin flame blueprint inside of your soul that will be born and expressed into the flesh that are complementary, and they feel attracted to each other. And they will find each other, right? Especially when you are in the vicinity of a true teacher. That's just where that magnetism and everything really comes together. That's why you go to a teacher. That's why you visit a community and stick with it for a longer time, if not forever. But for some people, there are instances in which people have another way of an inner organization in their union. Very interesting, but it does happen. And I got to see one case of, I still would like to learn more about it, but we were pretty sure that we saw a one body expression with two complementary soul aspects combined in this one person. And that was, for instance, another way of being a twin flame. Very interesting. And there was still a question like, but how do I move forward in life? And what does this imply for me? And there were still basic questions about that, about how that feels, about how to move to an inner harmony. It was still the same question. So that's still very welcome for a twin flame teacher. We can still work with that. And that is, in a sense, the very same. But it's interesting and also a little different. And I was also in the beautiful circumstances to then, in a new wave, attract new people to me. And then I got even someone that was so ripe to learn really what they needed to know. Because they were, at the end of their rope almost, they really wanted to know. They really needed the healing. They really were like, well, just take me on because I just want to make this work. I don't understand it. I'm sure that I'm in this twin flame experience, but where I am, I cannot tell you anymore. It is very emotionally overwhelming, but what do I do? And that was at the time that I opened up a beautiful place. At that time, I opened up 2 of them for people that could come into this coaching with me, and I would take them forward a couple of months in a beautiful deal that would make possible for them to have a whole bunch of live meetings with me time after time, and also correspondence in between. Was a special deal. Sometimes I do that. I create special packages out of what I already offer anyway. For instance, one-on-one meetings are always possible, and certainly when you're in our Facebook group, because that's really the place to be when you want an inexpensive and easy to access short way to get to talk to me. And that's just really very well possible from the Facebook group, because that is one of the 2 exclusive services for Facebook group members. Well, there you go. But sometimes I just make them into a package that is maybe like a one-time deal that I only make once. And this was a beautiful opportunity for her, and she took it. So I could just really take her by the hand, and we just worked together. Also in our correspondences, and we even had a real live meetup where we visited together this day with Divine Mother, a lot of open air and a great restaurant and whatnot, and beautiful meditational atmosphere at the same time. And you do see a short video about that on my channel, by the way. It was last December. It was the study day with Divine Mother. And we did all this together. And it's almost unbelievable, but we took it so far that after 4 months and 4 days exactly, beautiful numbers are everywhere, she reached Harmonious Twin Flame Union right after we finished a one-on-one coaching meeting. We were still lingering, and then it became clear. And we talked for half an hour more about what that implied, because it was now happening, and it had already happened, and I had passed it on. And that was beautiful. And we could clearly see that it happened now, and it came out of the divine, and it was a gift that was given, and we together had done the work to make that possible for her. And now we could work out what it meant for her. We could say and acknowledge for true now, 100% true, who the true twin flame was, and we could conclude a couple of more things that were going on there and how she would move forward now from that, healing deeper in harmonious union, the state of consciousness itself, to now make it come true, start building, start rolling this out as something that really can be made come true in a real life sense. And wow, that was a beautiful experience. And one of the beautiful things about it was also realizing that people can go there if they really want to. I can bring them there. It does not necessarily need to take such a long time, like 5 years, what I maybe thought before, or 3 years, which was both sort of derived from the example of Brittany. But it could also be done in 4 months and 4 days, apparently, when you're ripe and you really want it. And you let go of expectations and you buy the coaching that you need. And we can come as close as we need through that, having taken these opportunities. And through accepting the helping hand of the Divine Mother. And that it was really possible in a relatively short time. We even saw that she had also had the Divine Love reading, which is another beautiful Twin Flame Facebook group exclusive service. And we made that come alive in the Twin Flame Reset, which is another service that is a little bit more upscale, also in pricing. And that is a large, intimate meditational meeting in which a lot of healing takes place. And we take a portion of the Divine Love reading that is about all your 9 energy points in the creative identity system that is fit for this twin flame era. And we take what has been said that in that reading and then apply it real life on your energy field right now in the meeting. And some more things that we do there, we really activate you in your energy field to move towards the right vibration that is the vibration of Harmonious Twin Flame Union. And we did that too for her, with her. And then we even had seen that after that crucial Twin Flame Reset episode of her, having gone through the service to completion with all its extras up front and afterwards, and then we could, looking back, see that she had reached Harmonious Twin Flame Union 2 weeks, only 2 weeks after that Twin Flame Reset had been done, which was also an enormous clarity about what that service can bring people as well. Because I had described it as moving forward strongly to Harmonious Twin Flame Union, and well, in her case that was indeed strongly so. After 2 weeks it was done and dusted. She was there. And it was so beautiful because there was this whole clarity that came in and the love and light came in. And now she is moving through what that brought her. And we're still now within, where do we live? Within the 2 months after that. So yeah, there's a beautiful reverberation that is being unpacked now. And that also unlocked even deeper kinds of ways for me to help her. Because when you come closer to me, you don't only unlock your own twin flame success, but you also unlock what I have to offer, because I cannot help people with deeper things that they can be helped with when you don't come closer, right? And there are even all kinds of things that I can help you with that are not advertised in the many things that I can show you, because there are actually a lot of ways to come closer already. Just like that, lots more than I said now. There are also e-courses, there are also, well, all kinds of things. And they're, by the way, they're like all the time, you know, I give, when I feel like it, you know, a collection of webinars and meetings and whatnot, and meditations online that you can always easily come to when I feel like coming with it forward with it again, right? And we have games. We play online games and challenges to challenge yourself, to love yourself, and to get into connection with your soul money vibration as well. That's another game. Yeah, just naming a few things. I had been experiencing that I had been bringing more people in that layer of my work that was completely of these meetings and small meditations and a mini program of 4 events per month in our Facebook group. And there was a flow of people that was attracted to that one for around 6 months. And I was at that point quite active in really offering that, and I had people move through it. And I had been promising that whether you came closer to me in paid coaching or in all my social media avenues that I offer, so all these mini program meditations, games, etc., that you would for sure be moving forward dramatically into the direction of the state of consciousness of Harmonious Twin Flame Union that it is all about. And that has been proven correct, because not only did Anna reach after 4 months and 4 days her harmonious union from diving into the working together with me on one-on-one in private coaching, but also to other people that went for the easy to access social media options for approximately the same span of time. 5-6 months, they also went to Harmonious Twin Flame Union. And that also happened pretty recently, last March. Last month, that is. And that was so beautiful and so wonderful, because you could see that the potency of even my incredibly easy to access, sometimes free even, sometimes donation based, sometimes very inexpensive options that are here for you, that I had been spreading out online a lot, that was indeed an avenue through which you could start to get a relationship with what I am actually offering between the words, between the lines, the actual light, the actual energy that I'm reaching out to you. And that you can have a relationship with it, and that you can have faith and can go deeper with it. Let it work on you. Do the tool that I advise and take it truly seriously. That's what they did. And they truly had deep experiences with that. And they reached it. They reached it in vibration. But then what you saw was that they could not really take it on as the relationship. That's individual, so you're still invited to show me what you can do. But that is indeed one of the reasons that you can best combine your vibration journey with your relationship journey. And the relating needs to take place with the teacher, because that will ground you, and that will answer the questions, and that will smooth out the strangeness of, oh, I thought I was something else, but now I'm this. Because we relate over that. And that is also why, just why that aspect is here. These are all aspects that are offered to you here because I know they're all important. So that was very interesting and very educational too. Yeah. I had recently in our community been speaking about that for this time frame, the last half year where we're living now approximately, I would see within my logic of the buildup of my coaching opportunities, I would see the value of going to Harmonious Union as something that would be invaluable. Harmonious Union, invaluable. But if at this moment, for where I stand in my practical build-up in 2024, at the beginning of 2024, I would say, I have said that it was around 5,000 euro in value, but that I was, for the last 6 months, at approximately the making come true of that, what I at this point find that it would need to be valued as. I was at the making come true of that at approximately 1/5 of that. And prices will also grow with everything that grows here. I have been extending the full thing to you for a couple of years, in fact 4 years, but especially 2 years since I have been specifically giving the mini program just like that in our community, which had been starting at absolutely zero. And I had made come true Harmonious Union for the last couple of months for 1,000, but the value is 5,000. And these kinds of prices can also shift because we're moving to the future where things will actually rise, because there's a sort of a school rising out of the sea, sort of, and that's what's happening here. And all the structures, the organization will move with this accordingly. But you even saw that, and I'm very grateful for that, that it has come true that you can, with the options that I have rolled out in the past into last month, that you could come into Harmonious Union for free. And people have proven that. And that is beautiful, because I have done exactly what I set out to do. I have showed you exactly what kind of miracles we have here. I have given examples of what is happening, how it happens. I educated myself and the community about what happens when we do what, and what is necessary for what. And yeah, now things are growing. Yeah, what more do I want to say about that? I don't know. I think it's invaluable. Which means its value, the value is everything that you are and have. That's what I gave. So just to be very sure about that, I gave everything I was and had and could give into this. And in money, you would need to see that as 500,000 or something at this point. So, but the truth is that you can't put a price on it, because it's the biggest thing that you can do for yourself in eternal light. And it's really worth everything that you put into it. And the invitation is to put into it what you feel it is worth, because that is what you are receiving. And that's why I now personally live the dream. And this is how I can do what I do. This is how I can give what I have to give, even in the time that is now in the past, in which I gave it away. You know, I could only do that because I invested everything that I had into the ability of being able to give it. And yeah, we're just rising out of the sea in this new era that is also for me the new era of my teachership, the new era of my spiritual teachership that already existed. And this is the twin flame era that came on top of it and is integrated into it, and through which I was completely transformed again into where I'm now, and in which I can pass on what I promised you. And I hope that I, through a couple of these stories, made it a little bit understandable for you what happened, what could happen, what I made happen, what we made happen. And not in the least, this we consists of Divine Mother and me. But you can't cut the teacher out of that relationship, so that may be good to know. I hope this helped and that you find it educational to have heard. Thank you so much. So you must know that we are actually going in the direction of a beautiful opportunity to organize your twin flame breakthrough. And that will be in the weekend of May 4 and 5. 3 days on day 1 and 3 days on day 2. There will be homework going from day 1 to day 2. Before this all starts, I do take you on an individual call of 20 minutes to get clear on where you are standing now in your before space. And I will be doing an extra reading for you as well to acknowledge that together with Divine Mother. And this is the structure through which you will be able to reach your breakthrough, because the couple of people that just only a couple of them, very intimate, maximum 4, that will come together in that weekend, will together organically form the tapestry of the topics that we are going to feel through and completely work through in our light bodies and energy. And that will push you forward tremendously towards Harmonious Twin Flame Union. And yeah, you can keep on doing your own inner work afterwards with my special inner work package. And I know that it's going to be truly transformative. You can be part of this unique experience of really going deeper and intensify the inner work so that you go to your true twin flame results that you are looking for, which not in the last instance really is feeling good, right? Feeling better and attracting the union that you desire so much. I did make a page about that in which you can read all about it. And you'll find the link to it in the description box below and in the pinned comment. I will see you there or in the next video that I will put here in a couple of seconds. Love from Petra.